Meetings and deliberations over the current internal wranglings in the main opposition PDP after 7 deputies in the National Executive Council of the party resigned, and some NW members have also threatened to resign today. And the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, speaks after his visit to APC leader Bola Tinubu in London yesterday. Sanwo-Olu says Bola Tinubu is just fine. Hello everyone, and warm welcome to you on Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Seun Okinbaloye in Lagos. So much to unpack tonight, and so many information coming perhaps almost at the same time. So stay with me, everyone, for these next 60 minutes, and I'm going to take you through what will become a very, very insightful ride on Politics Today on Channels Television tonight. First, let's tell you that the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, says the APC leader and former governor of Lagos State, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is hale and hearty. Pictures of the Lagos governor's visit to the APC leader in London surfaced online, and he confirmed it today. The Lagos State governor says his meeting and the picture he took with Asiwaju Tinubu should dispel the rumors flying around that the APC leader was sick and hospitalized, adding that they both discussed on happenings in APC national issues and other matters during the visit to the APC nationally there. Take a listen to Governor Sanwo-Olu.
Yes, indeed, it's me you saw in the picture. And our leader that I went to see is really just around all of the rumors that was flying around. And you saw the man. He's well, he's healthy. And we conversed, we talked about what is happening in our party, what is happening in the nation, you know, and to just say to him that, I mean, all is well. And I went to see things for myself. So just to ensure that, you know, you are all very nice gentlemen of the press. You will not report fake news. So it's really just to put your mind and put your, you know, heart at rest that there's nothing for us to worry about.
And let's tell you about some very crucial approvals which we're following for some news just coming in from the Federal Executive Council meeting which held today at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. The Executive Council approved award of contract for rehabilitation of Warri and Kaduna refineries at $1.4384 billion, $897.6 million for Warri refinery, and $586.9 million for Kaduna refineries. The Minister of State for Petroleum, Temi Presiva, says the full completion of the rehabilitation of the Warri and Kaduna refineries will be carried out in 3 phases. The Council also approved the acquisition of 20% minority stake by the NNPC in Dangote Petroleum and Petrochemical Refinery in the sum of $2.76 billion. The Minister of Education on the issue of education says that the continued negotiation with bandits, especially after every kidnap attempt, further empowers more action by the groups, hence the decision of the federal government to stop negotiating with kidnappers. To stay with us for some of these details, it looks so much that there was a busy day at the FEC, which was headed by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, in the absence of President Muhammadu Buhari, who is at the moment in the United Kingdom. So we give you more on that on Channels Television. But let's take a look at your political roundup stories, and when we come back, we'll tell you what happened on the Sunday Igboho matter, and we will dive straight into the PDP matter. One of the prominent leaders of the PDP joins us right here on the program. Take a listen first to your political roundup stories.
The crisis rocking the PDP in Oyo State appears to be heading for resolution as the Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde promises to do all necessary to address grievances within the state chapter of the party to strengthen it as a formidable and united party for victory in future elections. The governor stated this at the Government House, Agodi, Ibadan, during a meeting between the party's stakeholders and the People's Democratic Party PDP National Reconciliation and Strategy Committee.
I want to commend all our stakeholders who have come who have agreed that today is the beginning of a new chapter.
The chairman of the APC World Congress Committee in Ondo State, Gboyega Isiaka, says the exercise was very peaceful and orderly in the 203 wards across the state. Isiaka disclosed this while addressing newsmen at the APC State Secretariat in Akure, the state capital.
We should let the public be aware that the exercise that we have come here to do, we have been able to do it. The exercise has been peaceful. The turnout has been impressive. The enthusiasm has been good.
A member of the PDP Board of Trustees, Senator Joy Imodi, has defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress, APC. The chairman, APC Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee and Yobe State Governor Mai Mala Buni formally received the senator in a brief ceremony in Abuja. She described the APC leadership as genuinely committed to a united Nigeria that has plans for the future generation. The Akwa Ibom State Governor Udom Emmanuel has called for the integration of entrepreneurial skills in the scheme of the Presidential Amnesty Program for repentant ex-militants in the Niger Delta region. He says will help create wealth, making the region become self-sufficient instead of the present structure, which encourages them to rely on stipends from the government. Governor Emmanuel made the call when the interim administrator of the Presidential Amnesty Program, Colonel Milant Diko, visited him at the government house in Uyo. The governor of Adamawa State, Umaru Fintiri, has commended the United Nations for earmarking $375 million to tackle food shortage, insecurity, and other humanitarian challenges in the northeast. The governor gave the commendation during a meeting with a high-powered delegation from the United Nations with traditional and religious leaders in the insurgency-ravaged communities of Madagali local government area of Adamawa State. And the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, says his government is determined to secure the public and environmental health of the state, as well as to improve the aesthetic value of the environment in line with the health and environmental pillar of its themes agenda. The governor today unveiled the fleet of the Lagos State Waste Management Authority, LOMA, with 102 units of brand new locally assembled compactor trucks and 100 units of double Dino waste bins in a bid to reduce the turnaround time in waste evacuation within the metropolis, thereby achieving cleaner and healthier environment.
Let me plead with all of you to continue to cooperate and collaborate with your individual PSP operators.
Let me quickly tell you that an Oyo State High Court sitting in Ibadan has granted an ex parte motion restraining the Department of State Services and the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, from arresting the Yoruba Nation agitator, Mr. Sunday Adeyemo, popularly known as Sunday Igboho. The court also restrained the DSS and Mr. Malami from intimidating, harassing, and blocking the bank accounts of Mr. Igboho. The presiding judge, Justice Akintola, gave the order on earlier today, following an ex parte motion moved by Mr. Igboho's lawyer Yomi Aliu at the court. And the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has granted bail to the 12-8 of Sunday Adeyemo, popularly known as Sunday Igboho, delivering the ruling on the application filed by the 12 applicants before the court. The presiding judge, Justice Obiora Egwuatu, says it is clear that no charge has been brought against Sunday Igboho's aides since their arrest, and detaining them without charging them contravenes the provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act and their fundamental human rights.
The court graciously looked into the matter, look at the exhibit written support and affidavit, and has restrained
Well, now, let's get into the matter for tonight. And it's a continuation of what we're tracking for you from yesterday when the news broke that some members of the People's Democratic Party, not just members, leaders, and not just leaders, the members, 7 deputies in the national executive of the PDP, where 7 national officers of the party resigned their positions. The officers, in the different letters addressed to the national secretary of the party and made available to China Television, alleging that they're being sidelined and unfairly treated by the National Working Committee of the PDP, led by the chairman, Uche Secondus. We've been told right here on China Television, sources in the party said there have been meetings since yesterday. One had held yesterday with some of these argued members, and another one held earlier today in discussing mechanisms of resolving this crisis. This is not the first time you're hearing about this kind of situation in the PDP when people are dissatisfied. In fact, what you see are the Bukola Saraki-led reconciliation team doing across the country. You can see the former governor of Cross River is also on that team, and the former SGF, Pius Ayim, is also on that team, trying to reconcile the members of the PDP. It's not the first time you're seeing this kind of thing happen. Another man who has headed that kind of reconciliation process in the PDP just tonight is a former governor of Bayelsa State, Senator Seriake Dickson. He joins us from Abuja. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight. I saw a statement from your office talking about how you can use the internal mechanisms to resolve these issues, and you particularly said that the PDP cannot afford the grave danger of a caretaker committee. But in a situation where 70 deputies resigned their positions in the national executive of the party, and 4 more people were saying they will resign, not deputies, this time around, 4 substantive members of the NWC are threatening that they are going to resign from the NWC. It brings a big question over the leadership of your party. What's your view, first and foremost?
Well, Sheung, thank you very much. It's quite some time I've not seen you. Thank you very much for having me, and let me appreciate you and your colleagues for the great job you are all doing in service of our nation. And to the subject matter of these are very trying times for all political parties. You will agree. It's not just the PDP that has challenges. You can see the other party itself is dealing with issues of constitutionality, legality, propriety of the contraption called the caretaker thing that it has foisted upon itself. Yes, no leader or member or well-wisher of the PDP is happy with the situation we have found ourselves in, particularly talking about the sudden resignation of national deputy officers of our party. If their resignation is to advance the cause of deepening democracy and strengthening our party, we shall see. But if their resignation is to foist a crisis, a sudden crisis on our party, then the next days and weeks will reveal the true motives and who that are behind it. But whatever it is, these are developments that are not totally strange. These are developments that are contemplated even by the Constitution, and there are precedents, because the PDP Constitution envisages that officers, for one reason or the other, could resign before the expiration of their tenure, and there are provisions for dealing with it, replacements from their states and from their zones, for example, and it has happened a lot of times. And don't forget, this is coming about 4 months only, 4 months, Sheung, to the end of the constitutionally guaranteed tenure of the current working committee. So there are a lot of questions that are begging for answers. But whatever the challenges are, as I pointed out in my press release, some of us and majority stakeholders are of the view that, look, this is just 4 months to the end of the tenure. And we should now be talking about a convention, at which convention anyone who is in support of the national chairman or of anyone who wants to sponsor or support anybody will be free to do so. That's the normal thing. That's what the constitution of our party contemplates. And I believe that all the leaders are working around the clock. As I pointed out, we appreciate all the efforts that the governors are making. The chairman of the Governors Forum, who took over from me, has issued a statement calling for calm. I know that the BOT members and other leaders are also meeting, and also the Reconciliation Committee chairman. And you know, I did that Reconciliation Committee work for between 2013 to 2020. So I know a thing or two about some of the undercurrents about what is going on. But it's not completely unexpected. These are normal processes. A party that has lost suddenly, you know, PDP was in power for 16 years and suddenly lost power. So these are challenges of self-discovery. And mind you, all parties are not completely free from developments like this. And for the PDP that was in power for 16 years, these are the challenges that we are managing in the process of discovering the real PDP.
Okay, so talking about the undercurrent, you mentioned a part of your statement says that we are not a ruling party at the center. These are your words in your statement today. We don't have the time, resources, and mechanism to resolve problems that will arise from a caretaker committee. But from what we hear, and I don't take lightly your experience in politics, a former member of the House of Reps, a two-term governor, now a sitting senator, your experience is heavy, and not just as a member of the PDP. In Nigeria, you're a politician with long years of experience. So all of these things, from aside the face value, there are deeper undertones to some of these issues. But for those who think that this is about sharing largesse, do you think so?
No. There are no largesse to be shared in an opposition party that is not in government, a party whose leaders have been hounded, a party that has been so demonized since 2015 when we lost the election. There are no largesse in the party to be shared. And it is precisely for that reason that in an opposition party like the PDP now, what you need is consensus building. What you need is tolerance. What you need is accommodation, one for the other. What you need is constant consultation, and not to adopt a position of either my way or the highway. You know, the PDP, the dynamics of the PDP, the structural dynamics are slightly different from the APC. In the APC, by the time you count the president and you count the national leader, Jagaba, and a few people, you can tell the power centers. But the PDP was not formed on that basis. Those patriotic leaders of Nigeria who came together in the face of military intimidation to form the PDP deliberately decided that the party should be an umbrella, a coalition of different tendencies and perspectives. So when we suddenly lost power in 2015, there was a rude shock. Remember, most of these players who formed PDP were not opposition elements. You know, so the PDP since 2015 has been undergoing a process of self-discovery. And now, for me, the PDP has come out quite strong. It's unfortunate a number of the campaigns are taking place. But Shehu, don't also forget history, that when the PDP won and came into office in 1999, at a point, the PDP had almost 30-something governors. So this idea of moving, governors moving, which should not be, but then it's a political culture that we need time to overcome, because parties need to get more ideological. Political parties need to be more of a meeting of, like minds, which it is not exactly for now. So as for largesse, it's not about largesse. I think there are some issues about differences which are normal. Even a father and a son, they can have a difference. Husband and a wife can have difference. So more so in politics. And for me, even when people say, oh, it is because of so person's ambition or that person's ambition, my attitude in my politics has always been that all ambitions in politics are legitimate and are equal. Are legitimate and equal. It's just a question of following the rules, following the Constitution, and bearing in mind the overall interest of national service, and then bearing in mind the larger interest of the society, particularly of the political party. So for now, what we would like to say is that all should sheath their swords. There's no need to tear down the house just because you want to chase out rats.
All right.
You know,
Yeah,
there are systems in place. Yes.
So I was going to say, if you look at the grievances of some of these people, some of them who have talked to us, the national youth leader of the party yesterday spoke on China's television and told us that Mr. Secondus has no capacity to spearhead the National Working Committee. He says it doesn't agree with his style of leadership. Same thing with some of these deputies who spoke to us and said Mr. Secondus does not recognize them, he doesn't carry them along, he's never had any meeting with them until this issue came up. Should the party be looking into what exactly has happened, or are you also of the view that some governors may be behind what is happening at the leadership of the party?
Well, let me clear this. I'm not a member of the National Working Committee, as you know, so I can't speak for them, and I don't have details. The way the PDP is structured, you know, it's a broad national party. It's not remote controlled by one man or a few people, as it is in some other parties. So those of us who are not members of the Working Committee, won't know what is going on a daily basis. But as to the capacity of the national chairman and his record of service, is very clear. As at today, let me tell you, I'm not spokesman of the national chairman either, which you know, but the national chairman, Prince Uche Secondus, is one of the most experienced party administrators in our party. He's one of the most experienced party administrators in the whole country. He's been everything else, from a youth leader in the NPN days, down to being state chairman of the PDP at formation, down to being national vice chairman, down to the deputy national chairman, organizing secretary, acting national chairman, and now substantive chairman for 4 years. And it is under his own regime, in a very difficult situation of repression and narrowing of the democratic space, and all that we have seen, all that party leaders have gone through. Yet, you saw the campaigns that he led in the last elections. The PDP, under the leadership of the national chairman and these current members of the working committee, won a lot of seats, governorship seats, contrary to expectation. Won very many National Assembly and State House positions. That's not the outcome of a man who is not in control or doesn't know what to do or is incompetent. In any case, these allegations, whatever the motives are coming just 4 months, Sheung, 4 months to the end of their constitutionally guaranteed 4-year tenure. So what are we talking about? I mean, if you have worked with a guy, and then I know the national youth leader is a vibrant guy, what he has said about the national chairman, with all due respect, I haven't spoken to the youth leader, I will try to speak to him. He's a young man with a lot of future. But that's not the way you talk about a man who's far older and who is your boss. The party system has mechanisms for dealing with such matters. But on the issue of competence, Secondus' record and the transparency that has come to reign in the conduct of affairs. Talk to any PDP leader who has contested an election. This chairman and this working committee has supported our candidates. They have refused. They have done away with some of the developments that we didn't like before. There's no more money for ticket in the PDP. That is now bygone. And all party leaders will attest to it. So there are a lot going for this chairman and the working committee he leads. But I'm not saying they are perfect. No. There may very well be issues. It may very well be that some of these concerns have some foundation. But the point we are making is that this is a time that calls for temperance. All right. It calls for everybody so that we can resort to the yes.
All right, so we're due for a break because I'm not going to take you because you've suddenly become a statesman after you exited the government house in Bayelsa. And I like to get your view. As a leader in the Niger Delta, there are a few issues I like to get your views on, especially what happened from FEC today, the refineries and issues of PIB and the amendment to the Electoral Act. But before we go on our break on the program, your party, PDP, wants to return to the power at the center, wants to come back to prominence in 2023. You've already lost 3 governors to the APC. Senator Joy Modi has dumped your party and gone to the APC. Several other people have dumped your party and gone to the APC. Does it not look like a mirage already? The dream of wanting to come to power in 2023 with all of this that is happening in your party?
Well, Sheung, we are not yet at the peak of the decamping season, if I may say so. And that's why I was talking about what has happened in the past. When PDP was in power, you know how many opposition governors decamped? At a point, the PDP controlled over 30 governors. 30. And a number of the governors who still were in the opposition, ANPP and so on, and the ACN and so on. We know the kind of arrangements that they had with the PDP-led federal government. So this idea of decamping is a Nigerian culture, very ugly Nigerian political culture, which unfortunately has come. It doesn't really tell you about the feelings of the people on ground. And elections are about the votes of the people. And the Nigerian people are so dissatisfied with a lot of things that are going on. I don't know where you are in Lagos, whether you are feeling the pulse of the ordinary voters, of the people, if their votes will count. If you do electronic voting and electronic transmission, which I'm sure you and I will talk a little bit about, you'll be shocked. So it is not determined. The direction that the voters will go is not determined by a few decampings that you see, even of governors, unfortunately. Anyway, and some of these situations are determined or driven by local developments. And between now and the peak of the decamping season, which will be next year, you will be shocked how many people will move either this way or that way. Don't be surprised to see a lot of chicken coming home to roost. Don't be surprised to see some other birds of passage flocking around. That is what we have come to know. Is it the right thing to do? No. Is that the way to deepen our democracy? No. Does that speak well of our democratic culture? No. But unfortunately, that is some reality, ugly reality we have to deal with. So it doesn't really give a pointer to the direction that the Nigerian voters will go. It's still quite some time. And which is why some of us in the PDP are of the view that in this situation, what you need is to strengthen and support the chairman and the members of the working committee. Strengthen the organs, solve problems using the available channels and machineries in the constitution of the party. We have the personnel. We have a lot of stakeholders and leaders from every community, from every ward and every local government in this state. Call on these leaders to address some of these challenges, work together as a team, and then do the most important thing, i.e., determining where the president and the running mate comes from, determine credible, sellable candidates that we can present to the Nigerian people, and then we go to the Nigerian people. It's not a time to dabble into control politics within the party. We haven't got the time, Sheung. And then about the Niger Delta, if I may still say so.
No, just a moment. We need to take a break, but we'll come back to you in a moment. We need to take a break. Stay with me, Senator Seriake Dickson, because we will get your views on some other national issues. But up next on the program also, we'll be getting one of the members of the NWC, Kola Ologbadiyan, will be joining me after I've finished speaking with Senator Seriake Dickson, and he'll be giving us the side of the NWC. Why does it look like the house is imploding? What exactly is going on? Stay with us, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. We've been having a conversation with the former governor of Bayelsa State and a senator, sitting senator in the National Assembly. Senator Seriake Dickson is a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. It's good to see you again and having this conversation with you. Let's leave party politics and go into some national issues. And you're going to be in a good position to discuss this issue. So quick, I'm going to take you on these matters quickly because of our time, and we need to move on to some other issues. Today, the Federal Executive Council meeting has approved the fixing of 2 refineries, Warri and Kaduna refineries, and that will go up about $1.484 billion US. For someone who has governed a state in the Niger Delta region, you understand what that means. If our refineries are fixed, what it means for our local economy. But for those who debate against fixing of the refineries, let me get your view on that. You share so much knowledge on that on the floor of the National Assembly.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, there's nothing in principle wrong about spending money fixing our refineries. The issue will be perhaps, I think the concern people are raising is about the amount of money, the sheer costs. And listening to you mention this in dollar terms, billions of dollars at a time that the naira is over 500 naira to $1. That tells you the sheer volume of funds that is being committed to this. Now, I'm not in a position to decide this way or that as to the costs. But there's nothing in principle wrong about fixing refineries. As you rightly said, if these refineries in Port Harcourt, the refinery in Warri, the refinery even in Kaduna are fixed, then it will help to absorb some young people and other technical people who will be working, and it will reduce the volume of importation of refined products into the country, which doesn't make any sense, but which unfortunately has become the norm. So it's about the cost, Shehu. It's about the cost. It's not wrong.
It then brings me to the issue of the
I would like us to talk.
Yeah.
Yes, I would like us to celebrate when this commissioning will be done. Let's not celebrate the award. Let's not even celebrate the fact that we are putting so much money in. Let's hope and pray and expect that the refineries will be fixed and they will get cracking. They will get to work. And Nigerians will see refined products. Because this is not the first time we're talking about it. And that's why you remember in Obasanjo's, the twilight of his government, he put some of these refineries for concessioning. And I would have supported that, getting the private sector to do that instead of putting hard-earned, scarce public resources that should go into investment for the people. But that was the policy that Chief Obasanjo adopted, which I support personally. And particularly now, that's what I thought. That's the route I thought we should have gone. But anyway, if this money is going to fix the refineries, and the refineries will work, and you and I see the commissioning and they are working, then there's nothing wrong. Yes.
They set a timeline to that, and we hope that that timeline will be followed. But it takes me to the matter of petroleum industry bill. You were part of that debate. You showed your disaffection about in the manner in which some of the major or the ruling party ruled or had their say in that matter. What would have been your the manner in which you think this should have gone in terms of what is accrued to the communities in the Niger Delta region or the oil-producing communities?
Well, let's look at the historical context of this bill. Remember that Yar'Adua's government that presented this bill proposed 10% for communities. The work on this bill started right from Obasanjo's time, President Obasanjo's time. But it was the late President Yar'Adua who introduced the formal legislation. And in that legislation, I was in the House of Reps at that time, chairing the Justice Committee. We worked on it. It was 10% for communities, okay? Now, even President Buhari, in his initial draft to the 8th National Assembly, it was 5% for communities, okay? So now the communities are aware that some president presented 10, and now this current president presented 5, and this current president, again, in his latest presentation, which has been passed, now reduced it to 2.5%. Now, in the context of insurgency management, in the context of community management, and how the volatile situation has been brought under control by a mixture of so many factors, you will agree with me that that's not a very, it's not a very it's not a rational approach, I must say. And there are other issues that I thought that should have been considered. For example, if communities don't have the buy-in and they are angry, they feel that you have reduced what was initially proposed to them and you have not sufficiently engaged, you can see that that itself is likely to create some problems, or at least create some misunderstanding. And for investment to flow, yes, the argument on the other side was that by the NMPC, by the executive, and let me clarify this. This bill, the 2.5 proposal, was not from the National Assembly, was not from the Senate. It was an executive bill. This was an executive proposal. It was this executive president who proposed 5%. He now reduced it in his latest proposal to 2.5%. It was the Senate that first raised it to 3%, and later at the concurrence, they agreed on the 3%. Now, what I thought that they should have done would have been to now do it in such a way that that they should have kept it at 5% at least. Because you see, the 2% difference, the opportunity cost of that 2% difference, as someone who has managed and who has been involved in the management of communities in that region, stabilizing that region, and still doing so, I must say, I know that that is not a very good incentive for stability and for peace. Yes, the argument is that if it is more than 2.5%, investors may not come. But you forget to know that the most important people in this scenario are the communities. And if the communities themselves don't have the buy-in, will the investors come? So I thought that that opportunity cost of the 2%, which will be spent in increased security investments, increased security operations, and the cost of community relations should have been factored into it.
All right.
That is what I thought the executive should have done. And it's not too late, they can still do it.
Interestingly, I have several other questions, but I'm being told that I just have about 60 seconds or so with you to go. Interesting. But I have these two crucial questions. I don't know how you hope to help handle it, because I need to turn to my next guest on the program quickly. But if you can help in the next 60 seconds, I'm being told that I need to wrap up. First and foremost is what happens in the Niger Delta region, NDDC, and the constitution of the board is something that I know that you've spoken also about. And I'd like to get your view also on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill and the electronic transmission of results, which also is a major one. You were in the INEC committee. In 60 seconds, can you do that for me?
Well, I will try, Sheung, as ordered by you. As ordered by you. Firstly, on the NDDC, on the NDDC, our position has been very clear. And the position of all stakeholders and leaders in the Niger Delta has been very clear, that the president should comply with the laws, the NDDC Act, and constitute the board. It doesn't stop the work on the forensic audit, which has been going on, I think they say, for over 1 year. We proposed it. There's nothing wrong. The two can go side by side. But the president should consult and then constitute the board in accordance with the act. Okay? Then on the transmission, so that we can be brief, I was in the committee, INEC committee, and we all agreed to present that draft, the report by our committee, authorize electronic voting and electronic transmission of votes. But because of some of the concerns about network connectivity, we said INEC should be put in a position to determine where that is practicable and where it is not. And that was our proposal. And I voted in favor and in support of electronic transmission. And in doing so, I made it very clear, Sheung, if you look at the vote, that it is unconstitutional for the Senate, for the National Assembly, or for any other person to subject the operational independence that the Constitution of this country has vested on INEC to the NCC or any other body or organization. And that remains my position. There will be a conference committee, hopefully, on this, because what the House passed, as I understand, is slightly different. So it will be harmonized. But if we subject the independence of INEC to anybody, NCC or National Assembly or whatever, I can be very sure at the end of the day that the courts of this country the judiciary of this country that has become very independent, very fiercely independent of their own independence, and people that we have a lot of confidence in, highly respectable juries, they will strike it down. I'm very sure of that. So I hope that does not happen. Yes, I hope that does not happen. We believe that INEC should be given the operational liberty to decide how to conduct elections, because that's what the Constitution tells them to do. That's what the Constitution has given them powers to do. Thank you.
Senator Seriake Dixon, I've not even been able to go into local politics of Bayelsa State, the National Assembly politics, or even the politics of 2023, and we're totally out of time. We have even gone over that timing. But it's a pleasure. It's good to see you again, and thank you so much for talking to us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you. God bless you.
I appreciate it. Let's move swiftly to our Abuja studio and hear from those who are in the middle of all of these issues in the PDP leadership. Their accusations and counter-accusations against the National Working Committee, the spokesperson of the party, Mr. Kola Ologbodiyan. He joins me from our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Ologbodiyan, for joining us. It's interesting. You know what we do right here on Politics Today? We'll try to get those who matter, those who are at the center of all of this issue, to talk to them and get our viewers the right to know and the opportunity to decipher what exactly is happening. So let us ask you, I understand that there was a meeting yesterday. I understand that Prince Uche Secondus, in the presence of some NWC members, met with the aggrieved 77 deputies who resigned. What is the outcome? Plus the meeting of today also, have you been able to resolve the matter at the end of the day?
Thank you very much, Sheung. I listened to you when you said that was there an implosion or is there an implosion? And I wish to state that, well, the PDP has suffered from the language of the media in recent times, from gale of defections to implosions. But I must confess in totality, and I must make you to understand that all these are just use of words. They are not a true reflection of what's happening in the People's Democratic Party. But having said that, yes, there was a meeting yesterday because we had an upheaval in the meeting that we had in the afternoon. We resolved that in the evening we should meet again and calm down nerves of those who were expressing grievances. And we had a successful meeting last night. And today we had another meeting of the NWC where the national chairman, Prince Uche Secondus, met with the aggrieved deputies who have expressed all sorts and all manners of grievances. And he spoke to them the way a father would talk to his children. And at the end of it all, the deputies told the National Working Committee members that were present that they will want to go and reconsider their position and they will bring a feedback. That's where we are.
So what about today's meeting? Because I understand that there was another meeting today.
Yes, I just said it, Sheung, that there was a meeting today, and at the meeting that we had...
Sorry, I apologize. I thought you were referring to yesterday's meeting. I thought you were referring to yesterday's meeting.
Yesterday's meeting was exclusively between members of the National Working Committee in order to speak to one another and find a way of calming down those who are expressing anger.
Sometimes when politicians talk about respond when Nigerians perceive what is happening in their parties as crises, they tend to try to calm nerves and say, oh, nothing is happening, no crisis. Interestingly, you don't like the word crisis or implosion, but you use the word upheaval, which is a synonym to the word disturbance, trouble, crisis. Well, if it is either upheaval or crisis, whichever word we're using, we know that something is not right. If it's right, we wouldn't be discussing it right now. But let's look at it. The allegations against the national chairman of the party. Some of the deputies are alleging that the man does not carry them along. That the man would travel and will not take them along. The man will go visiting the governors, he will not take them along. These are some of the allegations. You know, I have my ears to the ground. So, and one will wonder, was it some kind of largesse that is not reaching them and that's why they're aggrieved, or what?
Sheung, whatever you have said, or all that you had said now, borders on concerns raised by the deputies. And like I told you, the National Working Committee has met with the deputies and looking for a way, an approach of using the internal conflict resolution mechanism established in the party to resolve these issues. If there's a difference between you and I, Sheung, I can raise all manner of allegations. I can raise issues. But it depends on how these issues become resolved between us. So there's no need for me to sit down here, Sheung, and begin to talk about allegations, about issues that were raised. What I know,
Mr.
I want to tell the public. Well, I'll come to the second leg. I'll come to the second leg of your issue. So what I know and what I want to tell the public is that, yes, we had some concerns and grievances in the party, and we have withdrawn inwards to go and find a means of resolving these issues. We are talking to our leaders, we are talking to our stakeholders, we are talking to party members across the nation to find a way of resolving all issues. But talking about largesse, the People's Democratic Party has established and in line with its constitution, places the responsibility of the day-to-day administration of the party within the confines of the National Working Committee. Though we were elected on the same day, the deputies, apart from the Deputy National Secretary and the Deputy National Chairman, are members of the National Executive Committee. The NWC is charged with responsibility of the day-to-day activities of the party. So it is wrong to say that, oh, the chairman is traveling to collect largesse, and I plead with you that let's withdraw that aspect.
No, so let me ask a simple question, because some of these issues are easy to be discussed on tabloid, and on channel television, we don't discuss unsubstantiated issues. But if I ask you, is any of the deputies taking along on a trip to Dubai by any member of the NWC or to visit any of the governors?
So it depends on the assignment that's available. For instance, let me make a declaration.
For example, when you travel to Dubai, when the NWC traveled to Dubai, did any of the deputies, were they taken to Dubai?
So as I speak with you, and you can check this, I can submit my international passport to you to check. I have never been to Dubai. I have never, and I say it clearly, and you can check it. I have never been to Dubai. So, if there are responsibilities in Dubai, and particular categories of officers are expected to proceed to Dubai, if it includes my activities, for instance, and I do not have the time and I didn't go, or it does not include some other people's activities, and it's only those whose activities were required that traveled, we cannot be subjecting that to debate in public places here. We are a party established under this constitution, and our operations are within the confines of what is obtainable here. I have told you clearly, Sheung, there are categories of organs in the People's Democratic Party. The National Working Committee is charged with responsibility of the day-to-day operations of the party. The NEC has its own duties, which does not require day-to-day activities. And I've told you that the Constitution also provides for those that consist of the National Working Committee. So I don't want our party to be dragged in public place over what is called two fighting in Lagos. But for us, yes, concerns have been raised, grievances have been placed, and we are doing whatever is required to ensure that our home, the People's Democratic Party, remains steady, remains stable, and is prepared to oust the reckless and inept administration of the All Progressives Congress and President Muhammadu Buhari.
On a final note, and quickly too, Mr. Ologbondiyan, Some of the allegations include being marginalized, not being given responsibilities as deputies, and they also raise the fact that the party has not been properly administered. The party has not been playing a proper role of the opposition, and 3 governors have already left, and more members of the party are leaving, and they are aggrieved that the party may not return to power in 2023 as he hopes to. Is Prince Uche Secondus listening to this? Is he responding to this? And is there any amends that he's hoping to personally take in this regard? Quickly, sir.
Well, Sean, to be honest with you, what we have raised is within the purview of the office of the national chairman. And in public discourse today, these are issues of concern, particularly to members of the People's Democratic Party. And I believe, like I said earlier on, the stakeholders, the leaders, the members, our parliamentarians, our governors, our former president, our former vice, everybody is of concern about the situation, including our Senate presidents, about the situation as they concern what we are speaking to. And I believe that at the fullness of time, the party has its machinery to come together and find a solution to the issues at stake. But I must emphatically say that for the deputies, we had a meeting today, and they appreciated the conviviality of the atmosphere of that meeting, and they said they are going to have a rethink, and they will bring back their final decision.
When would their final decision be? Tomorrow, today?
Sheo, you are pushing me harder. I'm not a deputy. I'm the National Publicity Secretary. I do not participate in their own meeting. It is only when they bring their decisions to the National Working Committee that will have the advantage of knowing what their decisions are when they are prepared to present it. And Shane, I will assure you that even Channels Television and you, Shane, you will come and rejoice with the People's Democratic Party.
I will only rejoice when Nigeria is better, and I hope that your party will have a role to play in that.
Our responsibility, Shane, our responsibility and the desire of every Nigerian out there is that we should come back and entrench the fact that Nigeria is better with the People's Democratic Party.
I wish you, your party, the very best. Kola Ologbondiyan, the spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. And try to visit Dubai if you may, because some of the deputies think that you have.
If you sponsor me, I will readily do that. If you sponsor me, I will readily do that.
Thank you so much. So that's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Seun Okinbale. Bye-bye.